we're going to be doing now is the lightning presentations. So hopefully I have my timer set correctly. I have my timer phone here as well, but let's go on to a couple of things I have to start with. So what I call this just the rules of the show. Basically, every slide's going to get 1 minute and it's on a timer. It will automatically advance. If you sent me more than 5 slides, some people did, which is fine, because the question is, does that first slide really count? Does the title slide count? Well, you're going to have 5 minutes is how long you're going to have to do your slides. So once folks start talking, I will probably just click past the starting slide, and then it'll be on a timer. There will be a slight pause between our presentations just to give the next person a chance to get their game face on. And also, it's the first time we've ever done this, or I've ever done this, so expect the unexpected. If all of a sudden things mess up, and we'll do the best we can. So with the question that we've had, what is the order go? Here it is. So you can see who goes when. So it's Rachel, Jessica, Katie, Heather, Sean, Prudence, Kelsey, Anitra, Jessica, and Samara. You can take a picture of that. So you'll have your order go. And we are going to take just a brief pause after Sean, just to give everybody a quick stretch or whatever we want. All right, are we ready?
Yes. Okay.
All right, Rachel, you're up.
Those of you who may not know me, I'm Rachel Pienta. I am the Wakulla County 4-H agent, and my flash presentation is about teen engagement. So in 2017, I joined Extension. I took over a program that had no teens at all. And I knew then that I was going to have a mixture of retaining the youth I had to grow them into teen leaders, and then also recruiting new ones. So how to figure out how to do that, that was my task going forward. And at that point, we still had overnight residential camp, which was absolutely a draw for potential teen leaders to get to be a camp counselor at overnight camp. And of course, we had state executive board. But I would say in terms of a teen draw, overnight camp was a big draw for teens. So early on, that was a way to get those youth in, retain them, and have them be working towards a goal. And that piece is important as we consider teen engagement. Go ahead and advance. So as I started developing teen programs, I really looked into the youth-adult partnership and considered what teens want. And I started thinking about a model to apply. And my idea for this is the above model, considering what's important to teens. Agency is important, so that sense of self-efficacy and being able to do, and some autonomy. Belonging, I have little arrows there on that slide because belonging is huge at any level of 4-H, but it is still important to teens as well, and we can't ignore it. Ownership. I think it's important for teens to feel like they have ownership over programs, that it's theirs, and that really ties in with that agency piece. And then voice, that they get to say what they think, their voices are heard, their voices matter. And finally, all of this really builds into empowerment for teens, feeling empowered to take an idea, develop it, implement it, see it happen. So how I use that idea to build a teen program. So I said I was going to create or adopt teen-focused programs. And those included starting a teen CERT program, which is Community Emergency Response Team Training. And I did that in partnership with local emergency management. I became a FEMA certified the trainer person. And we did summer camps where we trained kids on community emergency response. And that has been a big teen recruiter for me. Also, the Living on My Own program. that attracts teens to it, sometimes via their parents, sometimes on their own accord, that they want to learn these things. They're not getting financial education anywhere else, and they do want to learn. Bright Futures volunteer service hours have been huge for my volunteer recruitment. As I had to pivot from overnight camp to a summer day camp, I've really grown my service there, and that has helped tremendously. So all of these programs have gotten more teens to be in 4-H and has helped me to recruit them and funnel them into things like county council, district council, and state executive board. My teen CERT program actually won state and regional awards in 2022 in the search for excellence in teen programming category, for all the things that those teenagers have been able to do, including pride service projects and going on to serve in other areas of 4-H. Next slide. So finally, thank you. I love talking about teen engagement, sharing ideas, and I think it's a challenge that we all continue to have. That one of my volunteers says we lose teens to fumes at a certain age. And he says perfumes and car fumes, that basically when they're in high school, that other things start to take their attention. So how to recruit them, engage them, retain them is probably paramount for all of us. So I look forward to sharing ideas with you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, we have Jessica Alton Cooper.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Alton Cooper. I am the 4-H agent and CED in Gilchrist County. And today I'm going to talk to you about a program called Serve Week. So this is a program put together for the target audience of rising 9th through 12th graders. So typically like that upper intermediate or senior age group. And we have done this typically in the summer. I've done it one other time than summer, but it could be replicated during any school break, really. And then it's multiple projects divided up throughout the week, where we partner with other organizations, and I'll go through that a little bit more, but we collaborate with different community partners that are both not-for-profit and some of the different county departments in order to offer some neat community service opportunities. Next slide, please. So the purpose of this program is really to connect youth with community service partners to earn their community service hours, not only during the week that we are offering Serve Week, but also for programming with them throughout the year, and also for like individual partnerships with those community partners too. So those youth can go and continue to earn hours, and this opens the door for a lot of different opportunity and for them to experience a lot of different types of community service in a short amount of time to see kind of where they might be the most interested in completing the rest of their hours for Bright Futures. So this also increases the 4-H presence in the community because we're hopping around quite a bit throughout the week with different organizations and community partners and county departments. So they get to see a little bit about 4-H, and we do some posts and things throughout the week. And we're meeting the different community needs. So we've done projects like painting one of the community buildings, like springs cleanups. We've done work at our local animal shelter. And there are some pictures here for those. We've also done some school shopping for our foster care partner at Florida Partnership for Strong Families, and that's another photo that you see here. And some of the incentives include awards and scholarships. So for a lot of our local scholarships, the kids have to have a certain number of community service hours. And then also for Bright Futures to get 75 or 100%, they have to meet the eligibility requirements, which include 100 hours of community service typically. So we partner with the school guidance counselors to help match students with those different scholarships, and also to help promote these opportunities, because with them, we're able to recruit kids that are non-4-H members typically. Next slide, please. So here's what our timeline looks like. February to March, I identify community needs and potential partner organizations and departments. And then in April, I'm usually contacting those organizations to map out the week with 2 or 3 projects per day. So like I said, we do hop around, and that's intentional. And some of it is because there's multi steps to some of the different projects that we're doing. Like we need time for paint to dry, or we might need some time to stock up on materials, or it might only take a short amount of time at each project. So we kind of hop around to get the kids introduced to those areas, but also because functionally it works really well. And then I contact local guidance counselors, school administrators, and I advertise locally from April to May. And I usually continue kind of into the beginning of June. And we send it out through our inner network through like broadcast emails and things like that as well. And then in June, we finalize the program agenda and we send out the details to youth. So what do they need? Are they going to need work gloves? Do they need jeans or shorts that day? Do they need to pack a bathing suit, etc.? And then we start the program usually in June or July, depending on the summer. So we've been doing this program. We've replicated it 7 times. Multi-year involvement from the youth has been really neat because we've had some that have done it several different times. We've had some that have only participated once. It just kind of depends on what year they start Serve Week. But typically, if they've started it as a 9th grader, they come back to us again because they really enjoy it. And there's shared benefits. So obviously this is great marketing for the 4-H program, but it also gets them one step closer to receiving a Bright Future scholarship or being eligible for local scholarships. And we coordinate this effort. And through the last 7 terms that we've had a total of 83 students. And we've assisted 19 organizations, projects, or departments for a grand total of a little over 3,000 hours, 3,071 to be exact. And they gain between 30 and 45 hours each week if they participate in Serve Week. So if they participate usually 2 summers, they are meeting their requirements for Bright Futures. So pretty neat program. We've really enjoyed doing it, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. If you have questions for Jessica, if you can type them up in the chat. Next up is going to be Katie Jones. And whenever you're ready.
So I'm going to talk with you about our 4-H Junior Naturalist Day Camp that we started last summer, and we're planning on the 2nd summer of this activity for this summer. So if you want to go to the next slide. So this is an office-wide effort, and then we also try to pull in our partners at the Swanee Valley Research Center, NFRA-CSV. Our objectives were to increase understanding of the effects of human actions on water in the Swanee Valley using the Florida Junior Naturalist curriculum that Andy and Geraldine provided with us last year at the 4-H Summit, and then to expose youth in Swanee County to 4-H opportunities and create a sense of belonging for youth while they develop critical thinking skills. So in this picture, you've got Sudeep, who is our regional RSA for water. And so he was talking to them about one of the research projects that's like a 20-year project that they have going on out at the center to determine nutrient loss under the pivot for different production systems. So we utilized the Florida Junior Naturalist curriculum. And last year's focus was on Section 2 freshwater ecosystems. This coming summer, we'll be focusing on upland systems. We planned with the 4-H agent, the environmental horticulture agent, and our commercial crops agent to develop a variety of lesson plans and activities that were all centered around water use and water resource management. Ordered supplies, scheduled field trips. We took field trips to the Okefenokee Swamp Park to see the headwaters of the Swanee. And we also were able to take field trips to the research center. We went fishing one afternoon, and we also visited the Blue Triton water bottling plant, which is what you see in that bottom picture there, where we were able to see how they actually process water and fill the water bottles for like hurricane relief, and then get to answer some questions with them about their water effects. We did some pond water testing activities. We did a couple of nature walk and hiking activities. We did a water shed simulation activity. And of course, we played in the water and we went and played disc golf one afternoon because there are some ephemeral pools at our disc golf course. We visited Swanee Lake, Falmouth Springs to talk about the connection between the different springs and the river. And so we started at Falmouth Springs, and then where the water goes down at Falmouth and it pops back out at Swanee River State Park. We visited both of those areas. We pulled out the science equipment. Amanda Phillips, one of our agents, was a science teacher before she came into extension. And so she was able to actually help them identify some of the fun little critters that they found in the pond water when we were doing that pond water testing activity. And next slide. As far as outcomes go, it was done through pre and post testing and educational games like Kahoot, and then additional feedback gathered through post-camp interviews, and of course, conversations and things that happened during the camp. We had 13 students participate. They all indicated a gain in knowledge about ecology and freshwater systems. 2 of them were excited they caught their first fish ever at Swanee Lake on hot dogs and white bread. And then most of them reported making a new friend, creating that sense of belonging that 4-H is important for. They also reported that they increased their understanding of water issues in our community through some of the conversations we were able to have. As far as moving forward, this summer and next summer, we're looking at upland ecosystems and coastal ecosystems and improving the evaluation tools that we started. That was our first attempt at it. So, but we had a lot of really good feedback. Several of the kids who participated actually were not 4-H members before and have since then joined different clubs and gotten more involved in other activities that we had. And so we felt like it was a success and highly recommend the curriculum that that junior naturalist curriculum. And that's that.
Thank you, Katie. Next up, we have Heather. And whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I will go ahead and get started. I am Heather Futch-Janney, and I'm the County Extension Director and 4-H agent in Columbia County. And so some of you have already seen and heard about Bellamy Beaver, but the focus of this project is today to tell you about how we overflowed agent 4-H involvement with our water resources program. So the big objectives was to expand the water resources education program to include other programmatic areas in the county and increase our number of participants in the program, because we wanted to reach a multitude of age groups, not just youth, but also adults with it. You'll see some pictures throughout. That way we're showing how we're including all of the programmatic areas, because that's one of the programs or one of the educational areas that touches every single one of our programmatic areas. All right, Andy, you can hit next. So with our water resources education, it was originally developed to introduce our kids, grades 5 through K, to our valuable assets, which is our springs and farms in the area. There's been a lot of growth in our county, and annually the population goes up in Columbia County by about 7% is what it's projected to be. And there's been a huge strain on our water resources for quantity and quality. So between 2019 and 2022, our agents reached nearly 2,500 youth and adults with water resources education. We had 24 multi-programmatic events and 80% of our participants. So we had about 1,852 specific youth participants that reported that they increased their knowledge of water quality and conservation. And then 100% of those youth shared that they would make a behavior change to protect our water. And you'll see in these pictures, we've included a lot of different areas. We've exposed Bellamy in all things. So I was talking about all the different programmatic areas. You'll see in each of these, you've got family consumer sciences, and her focus with our family consumer science things were the importance of water to the body, how much your body is made of water, and then the importance of consuming water. And then sharing the activities that can be done in and around the water was family consumer science. Our row crops and agronomy area, they focused on the importance of aquifer as filtration. So there's the aquifer up under us and teaching the kids how the water flows through it. And then also soil moisture sensors and the improvements in agricultural technology for water conservation, how our farmers are doing their part as well. So that's been super important, and including horticulture, that area in our office that was the connectedness to water that they shared, and water conservation and quality through Florida-friendly landscaping. We had our master gardeners, you'll see in that top corner on the right, one of our master gardeners helped with teaching at the water celebration. And then our livestock and natural resources program. Paulette was our livestock and natural resources agent, and she involved the increasing awareness of water technology and conservation techniques used by farmers, and then water resource conservation through habitat management. And you can see that all these kids were all exposed to different areas. We also involved him with the Road to 67. I say him, Bellamy Beaver, the big beaver that you see in all the photos. And that way he could really truly share in all the areas, the things that were going on with water quality and conservation. That's one of the main things with all the people moving into the area, that all of our programmatic areas focus in on the water quality and conservation so that we can be able to educate our population and have water in the future in all of these programmatic areas. All right, Andy. So we have questions, but I also was going to tell you, with doing this as a cross programmatic area, we were able to get 2 national team awards. The NE4H YDP Excellence in Natural Resources Environmental Education team. We got the Southern Region Jim Kaler Excellence in Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics team award. And then we were also able to do a literature award with the workbook that we put together with this. Additionally, we've got some future plans. The Itch-Tutney Partnership is who Bellamy came from, and we made a relationship with them to be able to use the character. We've got around $130,000 deposit that could potentially go into our 171 or 182. We're going to expand from just that K through 5 into some other grades, and we've always open to expanding to other counties and sharing that resource with everyone.
All right, thank you, Heather. All right, Sean, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Before you start, there we go. Okay, I see the whole thing now. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about how to easily get into the schools and to have effective school enrichment program. I know this is very popular up in some states, and it's getting more popular in Florida, and we have a lot of new agents. And for myself and some of us who have a history of working in the schools, it's not too hard to get in. But for some of the newer agents, sometimes it can be a challenge to get into the schools if you don't take the right steps. So next slide. Okay, so remembering the acronym GROW that you saw on the page before. So G, get connected with someone. Some of the people who is ideally to get connected with in the school that'll make it really easy is your librarian, your PE coach, a teacher, guidance counselor, or the principal. If you'll notice, I put the principal last, because if you start off with the principal or superintendent or school board members, you probably aren't going to be a friend of the people you're going to be working with, because they're going, if you do sell it to the principals and the superintendents and people like that first, then the teachers are going to feel like you're shoving it down their throat and they didn't have a choice and they didn't have no buy-in. So I would always start with the bottom and go up. And also the thing about librarians, PE coaches, and guidance counselors, their time is pretty flexible. A lot of times they're looking for programs. For example, like a school garden, you could easily fit that in with a PE coach. Librarian, she could easily do the embryology program. And then you've got recommend your programs that are available. So like I was just saying, the embryology, public speaking, gardens, vermipasting, archery. I know at our school, we do archery with 5th grade in the PE time, and they love it. And it's easy to get the NRA grants to work with the schools and do archery with them. Most of the schools are pretty receptive to archery. You can see a picture right there. That's our school garden. Some of the kids that's working on the school garden. Next slide. Okay, so organize and make a plan. This is very important. When will you be there? What will your role be? What will their role be? How many hours will you commit? What supplies can you offer? All those are very important questions that needs to be laid out on the table, and everyone needs to agree to it before you start. Let's say if you're working with the librarian or the PE coach, and that's going to be there. Make sure they understand. If you're only planning on helping them get started and then you're going to come back at the end, make sure they understand that. They need to be upfront that you're not there to teach your classes for them. Now, if you do have time to go and be present, then that's good, and let them know that. But it's according to what your situation is and what that school situation is. The supplies, like I said, teachers usually don't have any money for those type of things. So a lot of times that's where we can come in and help. We can do like little mini grants, and we can help them. Okay, so words of wisdom. So these are some important things that's going to help your program go smooth also. The rules apply to us too. Once you get your foot in the door, don't be under the perception that, okay, I am one of y'all now. Everything is, I can skip the rules. If they require you to have a badge, always have your badge ready, things like that. Make your programs attractive. Make them attractive to everyone. You're going to want to put these in the paper and share the success of this to the folks in your community, your stakeholders, to make it attractive to the readers in the newspaper. We're the flexible ones. Teachers, they've got everything laid out. They've got standards they've got to go by. They can't waver hardly from their stuff. So, we're the ones that need to be flexible. The end of the day is a much better time to go do work with students than the beginning of the day. Those teachers are using those hours at the beginning of the day to do math and reading, and they're not going to give up those times. But at the end of the day, those kids are about whipped and the teachers whipped. They love for somebody to come help. And it looks like that's it for me.
Thank you, Sean. So we're going to take a quick stretch break. If anybody needs to stretch.
The picture, I was looking at my picture and it's a little backwards, so it's kind of making me confused.
Yeah, so I think Prudence is probably just as surprised as we are by what she's about to present.
I couldn't remember, but I got this. Y'all are going to be wowed.
Oh, all right, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, I will hush and let you start.
Okay, so you can go to the next slide. And this was a 6-month-long camp that we put together. It was really just a class. And my tip is that we did this for a winter garden because the summer garden grows really, really fast. And it's a little overwhelming. So we used every extension agent in our office. Their requirement was for an hour to an hour and a half teaching for one of the months, and we split it all out. And how we did it was our horticulture agent, we gathered prior to the class starting, we gathered soil samples and tested those. And then our agent came into that first class and explained the test results, explained how to go about changing their soil composition if they needed to. And then we started planning based on what their soil was, what they could plant, because certain things will grow in certain types of soil. You can go to the next slide. Okay, and so then we have our entomologist come in, which was one of our other county agents, and do some pest identification of both good and bad pests to help them understand what they could be seeing in their garden in our particular area. And then our Sea Grant agent was even involved and did an explanation of watershed and how that would affect your garden. In this particular picture, this is our farm and we are surrounded by cropland. So everything that they spray, we get whether we want it or not. And so that was one of the things that we had explained to them. You can go to the next slide. And we used our FCS agent to do a whole lot of cooking and prepping and sharing of recipes. And she had a fun day of getting a few different crops. We brought crops from our participants' gardens and we all shared. And got to learn how to make and prep sauerkraut and start that. And then we also did some different carrot recipes. And then our ag agent spoke about what our next steps would be, because our class ended in January. And then we had to start prepping because we haven't started planting in this area of our world yet. And they would be then able to do a cover crop and pick which cover crop would provide their particular garden with what they needed to put that back into their soil, so they weren't having to add additional fertilizers and nutrients for the garden that will be starting in next month. We used Gardening in the Panhandle, the Florida Gardening Calendar. If you haven't seen these documents or publications, I highly recommend them. They are excellent. And they had everybody had a huge folder of all sorts of different supplies they got to go home with. And I believe that's all my slides, Andy. I may have one more, I'm not sure. But if not, I can answer any questions. No, I'm done. Okay. Are there any questions? I think I have a few seconds left.
You have a few seconds left if anybody has any questions. All right, seeing none, I'm going to turn it over to Kelsey.
Hey, good morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kelsey. I am a 4-H agent here in Nassau County. And I really wanted to share the I'm a Scientist program with everybody. So just putting it out there, this is not a program I created. This is actually a legacy program left from Kristen that we have continually adapted and improved and still continuing to this day. So I really wanted to celebrate it. And of course, anytime you can don a lab coat is always a good day. So this program is an introduction for clover buds to the scientific method. It's designed over 4 weeks, and we've got more than 6 experiments that we do. So far, we've reached more than 300 kindergartners every year. Super low cost, high demand, easy to implement, not a ton of time intensiveness. So kind of piggybacking off of what Sean has said, this is a really easy way to get into the schools, make those high impacts, and do something a little bit different. So next slide, Andy. So I like to always start the I'm a Scientist program with a picture of a horned melon. Oh, it's not going to show it. So if you've never seen this fruit, it looks like an alien fruit. And so when you put this picture in front of a bunch of kindergartners, you get the full range of emotions. So it's a ton of fun. So I like to introduce the steps of the scientific method through things that they're already fairly familiar with, which is food. So this is kind of a paragraph that I introduce them with. So it includes some of the vocab words that talks about the scientific method, but also presents it in such a way that makes sense. So I always talk about food because I love food. So I give them the example that they are an adult, or they're get an adult plate of dinner. They see a new vegetable on it, so they ask first, are they even gonna like this? So most kids typically look at something saying, what is this? Am I gonna like it? Then they observe that it's green. They typically hate green vegetables, so they go ahead and make that prediction that they're probably not gonna like this one too. However, they have to test it and actually try it to do that experiment to see if they're right. They make those more continual observations during that experiment to figure out, yeah, I actually do really like this. So they make that conclusion, they like it. Can you go back, Andy? And then eventually they'll share it with the parents that, yes, they do like this. So the project is set up over 4 different weeks, where we also use the 4 H's to introduce both 4-H as well as concepts. So each week is tied to an H. The first one being head, which is where we hand out actual official workbooks that they work in throughout the time. We talk about the alien fruit, and our first experiment is going to be the sink or float experiment, where we all talk about making predictions and asking questions. Week 2 is all about the heart, so introduces those skills of observation and comparisons. This is soda volcano day. If you've never done soda volcanoes, it's fantastic. Do it on a warm day. Cold days are very anticlimactic. Week 3 is all about the hands. This is where they're starting to collect that data and record that data on their own. So these are our longer term experiments. So we do the rainbow bridge, which is a coloring style activity that they watch throughout the day, and then a week-long experiment of the Petri dishes. And our last week, we get together and we make ice cream in a bag, because who doesn't love ice cream in a bag? Additional experiments you can use are different things like growing rock candy, teaching body sciences, talking about thermodynamics using different water and food coloring concepts. So you can really adapt these experiments to whatever your teachers need or what you're personally comfortable teaching. So it's really quite adaptable, and the kids absolutely love it. Next slide. There we go. So ultimately, the why. Teachers are having to cut things out of their curriculum. They are absolutely pressured to do so much with so little time right now. So this has been a way for them to keep science and make it easy to implement in their classroom. So each week, I'm only meeting with them for about 30 to 45 minutes. So it's really easy to do group cluster styles as well as reach lots of them. It doesn't interrupt their day very often. And the kids really love Science Mondays. It's also bringing in real scientists, which every one of us are. So just because I have a coat doesn't mean I'm the only scientist in this room. So we're really encouraging that concept that science is something we do constantly, and it also increases the awareness of women in science. They've seen Bill Nye, they've seen Neil deGrasse Tyson, and then I get to come in wearing a white coat saying women are here too. So that's always a really good bonus point. And it's really easy to convince administration to do this because it's typical science. So when you're bringing in other science concepts, it's a little harder to convince them, but this is so laid out, it's so easy to do. They can see the curriculum, they can see the handbooks, and they love it. We've also adapted this into spin club and day camp models. So it's incredibly adaptable, and it's a ton of fun because we always like to do science at different levels, and sometimes it's nice to go play with soda volcanoes again. That's it.
Thank you, Kelsey. Next up, we have Anitra.
Hi, I'm Anitra Mahan. I'm with the Gulf County Extension Office. Our office is in Weewahitchka, Florida, which is in the Panhandle. It's known for its Tupelo honey in our area. We have a really small town. I like to call it the sweetest town in Florida. So I just wanted to tell y'all a little bit today about our beekeeping club. Next slide, please. Okay, so we started a club called our Gulf County 4-H Beekeeping Club. And I don't know, it's just everyone in the area is really excited about it. I'm really excited about it. Our main objective is to teach youth not only like confidence and belonging, but a trade that they can actually use in life. Two of my beekeeping 4-Hers are actually making their own honey. They're making bee products. So it's kind of exciting. Next slide, please. We have gone to Bee College. We've gone to 2 different years at Gainesville, one at FSU, and we're having one in Washington County coming up in May. So that's been really beneficial to these kids. They've learned a lot. At their meetings every month, we go through a book, First Lessons in Beekeeping. We kind of just go through the chapters, but the Bee College has just been really beneficial for us as a club as well. We actually have a lot of local beekeepers that help. They let the kids come out and see the way they do things in the field, taste different honeys. It's just kind of a really nice thing to have local beekeepers helping, the kids as well. This summer, one of my 4-H kids right here in this slide, Emily, she's going to help me do some workshops. So we're going to try to present that for kids 13 and above, maybe even in, throughout the whole district. So one of the main things about the club is that, we're creating young entrepreneurs. This is Zeke right here. He's one of our 4-Hers. He's producing his own honey. I think he has 3 hives right now. He is selling it. Emily is also bottling and selling honey, and she is also making her beeswax wraps. So this May 20th, in Weewah, we have our big Tupelo Festival. So if you're able to come and join us, and our kids will be there, and we'll have a booth set up. So I just kind of wanted to let y'all know a little bit about that. And if you have any questions, just reach out, please.
All right, thank you so much. Next up, we have Jessica Emerson.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Emerson, and I am the 4-H agent in Levy County. Today, I just wanted to share with you a workshop that myself and Katie Jones in Suwannee County put together. And we piloted it at 4-H University last summer, and then we have some plans moving forward. So when we talk about our objectives, we really wanted to teach the youth in this workshop about food safety, knife safety, and then also give them a way to express creativity and teamwork through creating a charcuterie board. I don't know if you guys have ever done it, but it does take some planning and creativity and getting your cuts right and lining things up how you want it. And so just going through some of these methods here, we created a lesson plan and a structure for what we wanted it to look like. We decided on what supplies we needed, and we divided up costs and conquered that. And then, we delivered the content to these kids. They were able to apply what we taught, and then we did an assessment. Next slide, please. So we wanted to start out with the important stuff first, and then that way they could focus on the fun stuff at the end. We started with food safety, going through, the clean, separate, cook, chill. We discussed a lot of different scenarios. And so it was a very critical thinking discussion kind of presentation. And then we also went over knife safety because they were using knives and cutting boards to prepare their fruits and vegetables. And we wanted to make sure that everyone was being safe. After that, we talked about different tools that they were going to be using to prepare their charcuterie boards, and also different examples of how they could do some stuff with their charcuterie boards. For example, you could create a rose out of your meat cuts. And so we kind of showed them that. And then we also went over, the planning. How many people are you planning to feed? How many different meats will you need? How many different cheeses? How many different spreads? And so there's some different cheat sheets out there, and we just kind of gave them those ideas to start planning. All right, next slide, please. So just some basic startup supplies that you should have on hand if you want to implement this is you're going to need some tablecloths, cutting boards. Food preparation gloves are important for the food safety aspect, knives, display boards or large cheese boards. That is a board that we ordered off Amazon. It's just bamboo. It's easily tossed out afterwards. And then you want some decorative toothpicks that the kids can use, different cheese knives for different cheeses that you might have, different size portion cups so that they can put their sauces in it, or they can create a meat rose. Different jams, honeys, dips, fruits, vegetables, pickles, cheeses, chips, cookies, crackers, all that kind of stuff. Just an idea here, our initial first workshop cost was around $250 for all of that. All right, Andy, next slide, please. We did discover that this is probably best with small groups. We had 4 in a group for this workshop, and that seemed to work perfect. I would suggest anywhere from 2 to 4. And so what they did is after we went through our presentation, we had a planning worksheet where they went through, they looked at what was available to them. They came up with a plan as a group, and then they kind of designed it out on the back. In the future, we really hope to have more of a financial part of this with them. And so we want to create, money that they can use. And then they're going to have to go and shop for their ingredients to kind of teach some of that mindfulness with the financial portion as well, because charcuterie boards are not the cheapest things to make, even though they're really cool. And so that's best with small groups. All right, next slide, Andy. So at the end of it, your assessment can be done through pre and post evaluations for food and knife safety. But then also, as I mentioned, assessment in the future can be done through observations of the youth's money choices as they're having to shop and prepare these charcuterie boards. We did get some feedback from the participants. They stated that they would like more information on optimal food pairings, that they would like more instruction on typical patterns for the boards. That's a hard one because there's not really any typical pattern. It's really up to you. And then they stated that they would like to better understand the cost behind this art, which again is a future plan for this type of workshop and something that we hope to get implemented. And then many shared that they tasted and tried new things, which is awesome. We encouraged them not to turn their nose up to something right away and maybe give it a try. 35% of the participants stated that they learned new things about food and knife safety, which is awesome. We always want to share that when we can. And then 74% believe that the information was very useful to them. So thank you.
Thank you. And I was looking around for a charcuterie board. I was like, wow, that looks so yummy. All right, next up, we have Samara.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Samara Purvis, and I am the CED and FCS agent in Bradford County. And I'm here today to talk about our entrepreneurship camp that we did, which was actually called Shark Tank. And this was a collaborative effort between Bradford and Union County and the agents in both counties. Next slide. So this was a 4-day camp that we did, and we wanted to keep it small. We opened it up to youth ages 12 and above. And again, we kept the camp small in order to increase engagement and to build strong team building and support among the youth. The first day of camp, we really explored like a think tank and giving them different situations to think about and how to solve those problems on that first day to open them up to working together. Next slide. The agenda for the camp, on day one, again, we explore entrepreneurship and we looked at the components to building a business. So we talked about cottage food businesses and what those entail. And we also looked at just building a small business, developing a business plan, how you would market that. And we went into mindfulness. So we know that building a business sometimes can be stressful. So we spent some time on talking about how to self-care so you don't get stressed out in that process. We also explored visiting local businesses. So we explored Hillendale, which is a local feed business, and we got to learn about their startup and how COVID changed that business and forced them to be more innovative and introduce robots into their business, which made it more functional. We visited a local garden and also an ice cream shop in Union County. And the story behind that was that they took a niche for something that was not there and created a successful business. Day three, the kids worked on developing their businesses and getting that pitch together. And on the final day, they did the pitch. And we had about 5 or 6 pitches that were really good. Out of all those, we had a hair business that was actually created, a doggy bakery that was created, a home bakery, a lawn service, and also graphic design. So through that, our youth demonstrated impressive ways to create a business plan that they presented to the judges. They received mentoring from the local businesses, and all of the youth gained confidence through creating a business plan and presenting. That's it. So the last day at camp was a day where we really came together. We celebrated all of the successes. Our youth learned to fully explore the spark, that interest, and to take those steps into turning that into a profitable business. That's it.